Well, I'm trading in my golden roses for my white flowers to celebrate the happy couple on the golden wedding. Shout out to Theresa and Gerry, best to you. But in this video, I want to talk about the cringiest moments and the best moments because the wedding was live and for me, it hit all the right notes. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Before we get into the meat of this video about the highlights and the lowlights, I want to talk about the comments actually. Because after Thursday's live event, I stop and I read. I follow a lot of pages on Instagram and I just want to say stop. The amount of negative comments telling Theresa that she shouldn't wear white as a 70-year-old, I want to say please stop. Okay, it's not the 1950s. And if you're commenting on that, I really feel like you've missed the mark on it. Because no one's telling Gerry, as a groom, that he's not allowed to wear a tuxedo, right? It's really about this couple, and if you've been paying attention to their story, it's about second chances. Theresa didn't get a wedding the first time. And I love that this couple, Theresa and Gerry, are embracing this opportunity that they had. But I also love seeing all the other B-roll, people dancing, having a great time, and really embracing what weddings are, and that's coming together for the sake of love. Now, as a psychologist, I also know that there are a lot of people out there hurting. That's why people comment negative things, because the comment says more about the person commenting than the actual situation. I know a lot of it is what we call in psychology projection. Right? I'm unhappy with my own life. Maybe I'm single. I'm a little bitter. Maybe I'm divorced. And so I go and I say, wow, I can't believe she's doing that. When really, it's okay to be a little bit jealous. It's okay to have feelings about this. But you're probably not a lot of fun at parties if you're making those kind of negative comments. And for me, I had a little bit of my own jealousy, I'll just say. You know, I was jealous. I was jealous that I didn't get my butt down to Palm Springs myself. I don't live that far. I could have gotten on a plane. I could have gotten a picture with Theresa and Gerry. Why? Because I see other people on Reddit having done that. They went, not that I could have gotten into the wedding, but I could have seen this woman outside, these women, the Golden Bachelor women. Faith was hiking and other people were getting pictures with them. And I'm just so sorry I didn't do that. But I love that everybody gets a second chance. I love, and we're going to put aside Gerry's history. The only thing that Theresa did wrong is she was a little bit too overzealous. But all of that, they're going to figure it out. And I think, here's the other thing, let's nip this in the bud, let's zip it. These two are going to do okay financially. I really do. I didn't realize that they get paid to do the wedding. Not only did they get a free wedding, they get to go to Italy on a honeymoon. So good for them. Okay, good for them, because that is the point about the whole show. Millions of people tuned in, and I think I just want more of this. And 30,000 people signed up for the show. That was news to me. Millions followed along. The bigger message that doesn't matter how old you are, love is out there for everyone, even if you get just a minute of it. Okay, so let's dive into everything beautiful that went on with the show. Now, it doesn't get lost on me. Yes, as I said, there were cringe moments too, like the Amazon Prime that they had to say it 50 times. Yeah, it was a little bit cringy that somebody else gets engaged at a wedding and that you have 20 and 30-year-olds getting drunk and you have no say about the guest list. But again, let's lean into the beauty. Let's start out with the venue. If you haven't been to La Quinta, I have to tell you, you should. Palm Desert in general, Palm Springs and Palm Desert, La Quinta is a little bit south of that, is an amazing place. You saw them driving into that long driveway. I was there actually last year at La Quinta Country Club, literally across the way in January for a wedding. Can't tell you how spectacular. And at night, it's a little bit cool too. But everything about the venue, the flowers, the drinks, the bridesmaids, the women in the fashion. This was quite an accomplishment, right? And they're close to LA too, so they had to bring down all the crew, the woman who did the wedding planning, hats off to you. And if you didn't know why they chose La Quinta, well, it's great. It's a huge place, by the way. You saw people like have to drive around in golf carts because they have like these casitas, and then they have the ballroom and the front lawn where they had the ceremony. But Claire and Tayshia, during lockdown, they had no place else to film The Bachelorette. They had it at La Quinta. So there was some history there. They brought it back there. But for me, I also loved my girls, my golden girls, showing up, and they brought the fashion. Faith looked amazing in her dress. So did Leslie. We had Edith, Nancy with those gloves. I thought that was perfect. Nancy is a beautiful woman. We didn't see more of her. But the gloves, because it is, again, cool at night, Joan and Sandra and Edith, Natasha, good for all of them. April was there too. That good for all of these women to take advantage of every single moment. Loved this. And what I also loved is that they did try to incorporate the golden women, because if Jesse had narrated the whole thing, he didn't know like all the little inside scoops. So I thought that was pretty brilliant. And I thought it was really well done because it's a 2-hour show, right? And the ceremony is only a small part of it. That they were going kind of back and forth between like the golden carpet to a little bit of history, to talking about their families. And I loved that they incorporated Susan and Kathy. I'll get to the pros and the cons of that. Okay, now let's start with Kathy. She's getting mixed reviews, to be honest, online. And when they handed her the mic,
here I am tonight, standing with a microphone in hand.
Yes.
Who thought it was a good idea to put a microphone in my hand?
Definitely not me.
I thought that was actually really funny. Charity has dry wit, and so does Kathy. But, you know, Jesse's like, hey, Kathy, this is live. And so you just have to say, okay, she's not a trained person. But when she was like trying to steal Dotton and Joey, that he should be her son-in-law, I thought, okay. And the moment that I actually loved, back to that because they know each other, you get more information, when they handed the mic to Faith, and Faith got to redeem herself. And Kathy says, well, you're not going to move for your dead horse. And Faith says, no, that's not true. You got it wrong. Beautiful. Well done. We get to see Faith, who I love, redeem herself, right? Tell her story. When she hands the mic to Leslie and says, you know, why are you here? Because people say, well, they're all exes. But that's the point of the show. Only one person was going to have a wedding. They all knew that, and they didn't regret it. And Leslie says, I'm here to celebrate love, and Teresa's my friend. Perfect, classy, well done. Because here's the thing, I don't think that young women would have been able to do that. I really don't. I think by the time you're that age, you've had enough life experience, enough wisdom, that you can lean into that and just be happy for other people. That's the point. That's the point about the wedding. That's why, again, if you have nothing nice to say nothing. Okay, let's talk about my girl, Natasha. I loved her because this is my message too.
Those of you who are sitting on your butt at home, on the couch, and you expect something to happen, don't sit on your butt.
Get out there. Get off the couch. Instead of commenting negatively about what 70-year-olds should be wearing a white dress or not, get out there and find love for yourself. That is the message. Okay, back and forth. Let's talk about the flow that we've got. What I loved is when they showed Theresa and Gerry with their families. Now, there was lots of mixed information about whether they were going to celebrate the holidays together or not, but they had like Gerry in his goofy Christmas sweater, and now they're making cinnamon rolls. Where do I get the recipe? So sweet. I loved that the daughters and the families come together because I really think that these families are well matched. The two daughters and the granddaughter joining with Teresa's daughter and her daughter-in-law. Loved that. Let's talk about the dress shopping because this is one of my favorite moments too. I loved that all the women showed up for her. In LA, I think it was, the dresses were beautiful. Okay, I actually loved the first dress probably the most. I thought it was, again, a little bit Hollywood glam, but she went with the dress that felt best to her. The best moment was when she came down and said, Kathy, I need you to zip it. Okay, that was like pure gold. Theresa is funny. Her daughter clarifies this. This is why I think Theresa and Gerry are actually off to a really nice mix, because she has good energy. Okay, so now we're talking about the wedding dress, and then this is just in sequential order. We cut to the gold carpet again, and we've got Brayden and Christina. People wanted me to comment on this.
Is it classy enough?
No. But again, good for them. Seizing the moment. This is ABC. ABC has more shows than the Golden Bachelor. We have The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise. And if you're new, you don't know who Brayden and Christina are. Brayden was on Charity season just recently because she was the Bachelorette, and Christina was on Zach's season. He was the most recent Bachelor. So both Christina and Brayden actually didn't get great edits. They were kind of the villains of their season. So this is redemption. But the problem was Bachelor in Paradise, which you may not know, there were no successful couples that came out of the show. So what happened is Brayden was on Bachelor in Paradise. He left, but then Christina slipped into his DMs. And she has a daughter. Christina Mandrell also has a family, famous family. Her mother is a singer. Her aunt is Barbara Mandrell. So she comes from a successful family. I love Christina's energy, and good for them. Yeah, they asked the bride and groom, could you do that? But here's the thing. I don't know. They got a free ring, right? Neil Lane is there. Brayden gets to propose to her. And here's the thing. I actually think it's sweet, because if he's moving across country to live with her and her daughter, the fact that they want to make it more official, I think, is great for them. Okay, so celebrate the couple. It's 2 hours. It was like 10 minutes of 2 hours. It didn't bother me that much. We're back to the shower. Faith, Susan, Ellen, they're in a place in LA, in the hills, not the Bachelor Mansion. And sure, we could have done away with the product placement, right? Amazon's getting in on this. And we didn't need to see the Amazon gift registry. But the moment was the boudoir. And Theresa saying, I felt sexy. I want my girls to feel sexy too. I loved this. Sandra with the whole Denzel shoot. Empowering. And can we just stop for a minute and talk about Theresa? Did you see her figure? Did you see her legs? Oh my God. And then earlier, I think when she was talking to her daughter, she was talking about that she runs in place for 5 minutes. Who wouldn't want to look like Theresa from running in place for 5 minutes? I'm sorry. I would. Okay. Then the Never Have I Ever and Susan launching into the Bachelorette. And then we have the Chippendales. This was great. And here's Theresa again in the camera saying, well, Gerry got to make out with all these other women. I get my moment too. So that's why I loved it. It was like the moment where she's the bride, she's taking over, she's taking control, and she's leaning into everything. And then the other funny moment was Faith saying, I'm a predator. This was like MILF Manor. I just had to laugh a little bit because there's levity, there's fun. This is why we love these women. Okay, now back to the wedding. Dun, 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 dun. We're an hour in. We're starting the ceremony. And there's little things behind the scenes because Gerry, at one point, he's walking down to get up to the aisle. Susan's there, right? And he's mouthing to the people. Well, I guess what they had to do is they had to do a few takes because it was live. And they had to time out how long it takes him. But Susan. Okay, let's talk about my girl, Susan. That beginning was hilarious. If you don't know who I am, why don't you? Because the whole Kris Jenner moment from the Women Tell All, because Kris Jenner loves her. And then when she said,
when I stepped out of the limo screaming, Gerry, I'm gonna marry you. Turns out I was right.
That was my favorite moment. And I was a little bit nervous, honestly, because I thought she might go into the whole 6 inches thing that she did. But this was just classier, and I loved Susan. She is a professional, and good for her. She'll probably get a lot of Bachelor Nation, a lot of gigs to officiate other weddings. Okay, so this brings me to my third highlight, which was the families. Really, Theresa walking down the aisle, having her son give her away the daughter's speeches. This doesn't happen, right? Usually, obviously in a first wedding, you don't have children, but to me, this was great. And people are saying, well, why were they giving the speeches? Because it was live. Yeah, typically this would have been at the reception, right? You give a toast and you say these things then. But I really felt like this is what made sense. That Gerry's family and Theresa's family joining together is really lovely. And then when Gerry's daughters were calling their dad Ger Bear, oh my God, sweet. This was sweet. And Jen saying that you're my best friend, I couldn't be happier, take me to Italy with you. These were the moments, and there were tears shed, and that felt really authentic to me. Now here's my next favorite moment, was the vows. So in therapy, we say there's something about making public vows that really solidify a couple. Now, I got married in the Catholic Church, and people usually put your hands out and you say that you are blessing the couple. That's the whole point about having guests, that they are testament to your wedding. And supposedly then too, if you are suffering in your marriage, you go to your friends who were there as witnesses. Theresa clearly loves Gerry. Her vows were sweet. And she's talking about fate, how she knew early on, and that what she loves is how they both put family first. And I think that she is going to be a beautiful partner to Gerry because they showed the moments, right, where she really pumps Gerry up, that she gives him a soft hand and she calms him down. And she builds him up in her vows. I love your smiles, your laughter. We have so much fun together. We laugh till we cry. But I really think that they did a disservice to Theresa. We didn't see her depth. And I do think that this is what I loved. I promise to be your calm in a storm, to comfort you when you're sad, to laugh when you're happy. Who doesn't want vows like that? So I loved that. And she said, and I can't wait to be your wife. Perfect. Perfect vows. Now, here's the one thing. I don't want to put too big a highlight on it, but I think Gerry was just used to like the lights of the camera and the whole thing, and now the camera is on him again. And he said,
I promise that if you're my partner in life, I will make you the happiest woman on earth.
no, Gerry, not if. She is your partner. You're choosing her. Theresa is now your wife. But so I'll call that a Freudian slip, but and then they flipped to Ryan, who is Trista's husband, and I thought, well, that's not good. Like, come on, camera guys, let's focus on the couple, okay? And what he says is, Theresa, you make me calm. This is what every secure couple does, okay? It's not just the for better or for the worse, but if you can find a partner who calms you down when you are upset, that's it. And that's what makes you a better person, is that partnering. And he does give Theresa lots of credit, that you're strong, that you're independent. Your strength gives me joy. And I've become a better person, a better man. This is where I'm like, let's give Gerry a chance to start over. It doesn't matter what the history was. This is a moment for them, and now the clock starts, right, with their relationship. But in Bachelor fashion, now they're going to pan to Leslie while they're talking about Costa Rica. I didn't like this, honestly. I'm like, focus on the couple. But Susan does a beautiful job. You know, she looked a little bit nervous, but once she got going, she pronounces them husband and wife, and there is applause. Loved it. Okay, let's move on. The bouquet toss, you know, funny. The women are all going for it. Of course, what I loved is that, yeah, you don't want to be sitting on the couch if you're Leslie feeling bad for yourself. You're going to go there and you're going to enjoy, because there's so many single women too, different than other weddings where you might feel like a third wheel. All the women there, I just loved it. And then there were pictures after that they had a golden cake. Did you see that? Beautiful. Theresa changes into a second dress because I thought it would be hard for her to dance in that first dress with the mermaid. But lovely. Okay, the singers, that first singer wasn't great, but there were other bands there. I've seen lots of videos and I just loved it. I loved watching everyone having a great time, and yeah, who wouldn't go? Okay, all of that was fine. Okay, now I gotta get to the cringe moment. Kathy, and I mean this wholeheartedly if you're watching this video, you're funny, you're beautiful, but watch the humor a little bit. So now they zip to Zach, who is the most recent bachelor, and Katie, his fiance. And she lives in Texas, and said, yeah, I wanted you guys to come over and do some house sitting, but you're allergic to cats. And she says,
You are allergic to cats?
I'm allergic to cats.
If and when you guys get married, I already have your wedding gift picked out.
Oh,
What is it?
What is it, Kat? Let's hear it.
Kittens, and lots of them.
Oh.
A whole passel of kittens. A litter. Gotta go.
Kathy, no, don't do that. I really do think, Kathy, if you want to find love, let's just focus a little bit more on the positivity. Like, again, she's got wit, but it just needs to be toned down a little bit. So that would be Kathy needing to zip it. And let's celebrate Charity and Dotun. They're planning their wedding in fall of 2025. I don't think it detracted from the wedding at all. We want to see more weddings. I'd love to see that televised. Okay, what are the other highlights of the night? There was a picture of Gerry with 6 of Theresa's grandsons all doing the duck lips. Precious, remember? Because at the home visits, there was that scene. And even when Gerry asked his grandson, like, hey, can I marry your Nana? And the grandson says, I'm just a kid. I love these moments. Okay. Also, let's talk about Bachelor royalty. You may not know who they are, but there were 7 past bachelorettes showing up. Loved it. Trista and Ryan. Trista was the first ever bachelorette who got married. They had a televised wedding. Their 2 children are there. They've been married for 20 years. Desiree and Chris, her husband, were there. Michelle Young and her date, who looks a lot like Joey's twin. Caitlin Bristow was there. Tayshia. And there's been some controversy about those 2. I can get into it more. Rachel was there. Charity and Dotun. Loved that. Of the bachelors, Zach and Katie, Jason Mesnick and Molly, Ben Higgins was there. There were Bachelor in Paradise successful couples. Mari and Kenny recently got married. Caitlin and Dean. Ashley and Jared. Jade and Tanner. Some of our favorites. So let's talk a little dish, okay? How much do you think they spent on this wedding? Again, the first ever televised union. This was back in 2003, was $3.7 million. If you adjust for inflation, that would be about $6 million. Now, I don't think it was nearly as grand as that wedding, but it's, I don't know, it has to be at least $1 million, right? Good for them. Okay, let's just recap. My top moments are the zip it, the marry you, the girl speeches, and the vows. But here's my message to you, talking about projection. You're going to regret every chance that you don't take. People regret the things that they don't do. Put yourself out there. It could be you. It could be your year. We're just starting 2024. And if you're single, as Natasha says, get up off the couch. Take a look in the mirror and say, if it can happen for them, it can happen for me. That's the biggest lesson from the Golden Bachelor. It's never too late. And don't stop believing. That's a wrap.